In today's video, I want to show you one of my favorite exercises that I love to do in order to gain melodic fluency over any song or any set of chord progressions. And this is something that I see a lot of saxophone players and a lot of students really struggling, is to gain that chord fluency. And you see, I talk a lot about chord fluency and rhythmic vocabulary in my channel because it's really, really important to be able to extract a melodic language from the chords. And a lot of saxophone players just focus too much on scales and practicing patterns and memorize licks. I'm going to show you today one of my favorite exercises, which is basically selecting or coming up with three or four or five basic melodic scales just based on the chord tones. And then you're going to grab and take the time to put it on paper. So you're going to grab any tune. In this case, I grabbed Triste. It's a beautiful bossa nova from Antonio Carlos Jobim. I love that song. Has great chord changes. So basically, I'm going to, as you can see right here, I chose 4 melodic scales. They're really basic over the first chord. Now, I'm going to display everything on alto sax, but in the link in the description, you can find the available sheet music for this video in concert, E flat, and B flat as well. But what you can see here is that G major 7 is the first chord for the alto on that song. So I'm just going to grab that first chord of the song and I'm going to break it in different ways. So I'm going to find melodic scales. Now in my jazz improvisation mastery system, I deconstruct and show you my step-by-step process on how you can actually find all of these amazing melodic manipulations inside each chord. So you can check that out. I linked the course in this video as well. But this is very basic. The only thing I did, you can see the first melodic scale here. It's just a first inversion, right? With a little change in order of the last 2 notes. So it's just this. Right? So plain first inversion. Now with the manipulation. Now, I really love that sound. It's so basic, right? A lot of people don't even realize that's just a simple inversion. It's just first inversion with a little change in order. Now, for my second one, what I did is I played first inversion again. I really like first inversion. It's really effective. And I skipped the second note and put it at the end an octave higher. So you can see we have the third, then we have an F sharp, a G, and then finally the D an octave higher, creating this really nice melodic. I'm trying to create 4 cells here, 4 little cells based on the first chord of the song, but I'm trying to make them as different as possible. So one of them is just like a little, the plain inversion with the change in order. This second one, as you can see, contains like an octave and a half of range. Then the other one goes down a little bit. So I'm trying to create different shapes here. So let's check out the second one. Sounds like this. That's gorgeous sound, and applied in certain contexts can add that expressiveness to your playing. So when you do this, you can pick some cells that are like more close together in range, some others like this one that instantly create a more lush, like expressive melodic sense just by working on shapes, right? I talk a lot about rhythm and shape, so and this is going to be a video where you're going to see me really transform these shapes and put them on an entire tune. Then the third one, as you can see, it's almost like sort of another manipulation. So if you would think of first inversion descending, and again I changed the order of the last 2, you would normally just get, but in this case changing the order of the last 2, you get that really nice sound as well. And then finally, for the last one, I did one starting on the 5th. As you can see, I completely avoided the 3rd. It's just 5, 7, 1, 5. It's kind of a really nice sound. Sometimes it's nice, you don't have to use all the chord tones. I'm just trying to make this example so that you can see how this fits. Now, check out this image right here. Now, this is those 4 melodic scales applied to the entire tune. You see, this is Triste, this is the chord progression, and what I did is basically, just as an exercise, of course, this is excessively too many amount of notes, right? But as an exercise, I displayed, so I literally kind of alternate between those 4 cells. So you can create 5, 6 cells if you want, or even just 2. Depends on how developed you want the solo to sound. It's going to contain a specific sound. This is almost like a sketch. I'm trying to discover sounds that I like on one chord, and then I'm going to alternate and randomly apply them. As you can see, for instance, on the first few measures, I use the first melodic scale, then I use the third one, and then on the E flat major 7, I use the same one. So if you see measure 1, that little measure here where we start, and then when the measure of E flat major 7, it's the same melodic cell, right? It's just transposed to that chord. And if the chord quality changes to minor or major, you can still apply the same formula. It doesn't matter. It's going to sound great as well. And then you can, of course, download the PDF in the description, but you can now see how everything you see right here, even when I have 2 chords per measure, I've applied one of those 4 cells. And then you might see me do some octave displacement just so that I get a nice curve and work with shapes a little more. Shapes are really important. They're responsible to create this counter, these lines that move and sound expressive. A lot of sax players end up sounding too boring because they stay around the same range and the same shape. So you might see me split octave. That's something that I naturally do. Like, for example, on this right here on measure 21, I started on that high B and then splitted the octave, but it's still one of those melodic cells you saw initially. It's really the same. And then that's it. I've applied it. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how this sounds. Of course, this is excessively too many notes. Keep in mind, I don't necessarily recommend you play this version, but because ideally this is just a sketch for you to actually gather ideas and improvise with rhythms and add different rhythms, which is what I'm going to show you right after. But I still want you to hear how the chord progression shines with this melodic cell. So I took the time to record a version playing this. It was very tough because there's literally no places to breathe, okay? But I want you to hear it. Just pay attention to the sound. It's still a great exercise to do. So this is how that sounds. Sound right now. You get a lot of melodies that you wouldn't have come up otherwise. This is not transposed licks. Sorry, this is not transcribed licks patterns. These are not scales. This is just manipulating the chord a little bit on the first chord, and then if you whatever those sounds are that you like, then you translate them and start alternating. It's almost like if you're a painter and you're grabbing 4 colors at the beginning, right? And then you're transforming the colors a little bit depending on the chord progression, but that is your palette, your melodic palette. This is a great exercise because in 1 or 2 sessions, it can extract so much melody from you that you didn't even have it, right? It's what I call unlocking language. And a lot of this you already heard. Like, if you probably, what you heard right now, you were like, oh man, I've heard that kind of stuff before. I didn't know it was just chords or shapes, right? Chord inversions. So that's a great exercise. You can, of course, add and sophisticate this. I just wanted to show you a simple sketch over an actual tune and how you can create, record versions where you can use this as a template, which is now what I'm going to show you right now. What I did on the second recording is basically I'm using this as a template. Now I'm going to naturally improvise, and I'm going to look at this as my main inspiration, but I'm going to sprinkle different rhythms on top of it, right? So if I did something a cappella, it's going to sound like this. So let me play just the first 8 measures a cappella so you understand what I mean. I'm going to look at what it's written, but I'm just going to use those notes as my inspiration. I'm just going to add rhythms, remove a few notes, maybe add, but I'm going to use this as my sketch. So if I played around with the first 8 measures, it would sound like this. So you see I sprinkled a few rhythms there. Now rhythmic vocabulary is essential. If this is new to you and you are not very good with rhythm and you lack rhythmic language, which by the way is the #1 thing that saxophone players lack, I left a bunch of videos where I'm talking about rhythm and amazing rhythm practices that you can do on the description. So check out my other videos where I talk exclusively about rhythm and shapes. Make sure you watch those if you're intrigued about how to use rhythm and how to expand and develop your rhythmic language. I have plenty of videos about that, and I'm probably going to keep doing them because it's just essential. So I left them on the description. But for the purpose of this video, I just want to show you how you can sketch something like this and extract these melodic sounds and use them. Simply channel, like you can use a few of the notes. You don't have to use all of it. What you're gonna hear now is me improvising using this as a template. I was sort of reading it as I improvised. I don't need to read this, but I wanted to do it because this is how I was able to expand my language a lot. By using this sketch, then you read the notes and now it's almost like you have a safety net. Now you can look at that and simply be like, do-da-ba-ba. You can pause. Ba-bo-da-ba-do-ba-do-ba. Boop, bop. But those notes that I'm singing would be from this, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, imagine that you're reading, you have a bunch of words and little mini sentences, and you have to make things make sense. You make sense of things with rhythm. Rhythm is the how you play music, and it's the how of building a melodic language. So make sure to watch those rhythm videos. But basically, I have all the notes there, so you're safe with sounding good, and especially if you already developed those melodic cells and you made sure you liked how they sound, if that makes sense, right? So now once you do that, then you can start an improvised version. You can even record a bunch of versions, and you can do one version where you play limited amount of notes, just a few of the notes that you're reading, then another one with more sophisticated rhythms. Honestly, you can be your own guide with this, but I wanted to show you how from this you can play a solo like the one I'm just about to play right now and I recorded. Mainly using this. I might have included a few of other things, but this was my sketch. Now you're going to hear me solo sprinkle rhythms all over the place and manipulating this. It's almost like you're giving me the information and I'm manipulating the words, right? These are the words. I always say scales and chords, they're like the words. And the musical element responsible for creating a cohesive and musical sentence is rhythms, right? And the shapes. But the shapes are already here because I wrote the shapes. The melodic cells have their own shape because that's how I wrote it. But the rhythms, I didn't write any rhythms, notice. I'm sprinkling the rhythms later on. So make sure to watch those videos because it's really important. Now that's what you're going to hear. Let's check it out. Awesome, pretty cool sound, right? I love doing this, and honestly, I'm gonna have more videos about this, but it's a great way to grab an entire tune, and instead of just trying to figure out the chords, just put your sax down, go to the paper, go to Sibelius, go to MuseScore, whatever your notation program is, or even by hand, and just write down a few cells, test them out with your horn, and then just write them out on the whole tune. Write them out. this is, you know, when you write things, you process things differently and more profoundly. So if you write an exercise like this and then you play it, you're going to play it much faster. You're going to be training your ears, you're going to be training your reading, and you're going to be recognizing how this thing sounds. This is how I developed my language, because I was writing exercises like this. And then I was like, oh man, I love that sound. Okay, I'm going to register that, if that makes sense. This is how you build your music or language, and you can build this over any chord progression. Of course, this is an entire song. You don't need to do that. You can do this over 4 chords. Inside my Jazz Improvisation Mastery System online course, I show you how you can do this with 2 chord loops, 4 chord loops, and master 4 chords at a time. It's truly, truly an amazing way to build your language. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. I post videos like this every single week. Make sure to leave in the comments what are your main struggles in improvisation, or tell me if you had any questions about these videos. Make sure to watch my other videos. Also, if you really want to master rhythm and understand how to apply and enhance your rhythmic language, I also have a free training. I left the link in the description as well and in the pinned comment. So make sure to go there and watch my free, just a 10-minute training where I'm showing you exactly how you can extract rhythms from your favorite solos and music and apply them to simple scales, chords, and drastically boost your improvisation skills by boosting your rhythmic vocabulary. Make sure to watch that free training, and here's a link to my Jazz Improvisation Mastery System as well. Right here, it's tagged on this video, so you can go check out my course if you want to really dive into my step-by-step roadmap. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.